Good morning.
Look at that.
Yep.
Yummy.
Good afternoon and welcome to another Wog's World of Rex. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be working on a 2006 PT Cruiser. So my mom used to have one of these. Hers was a 2005 model. And it was real nice looking. It was purple in color. It was well taken care of and it looked really nice. And she had ended up getting in a car accident. Somebody had rear-ended her. And it kind of put the life of that car at its end. So my mom had been looking around for a couple of years trying to find one. She found this one about a week or so ago. She ended up buying it and paid real good money for it. She actually got a really good deal on this car. She paid $700 for it. It does have a few things that need to be done. Oh, hey, there's Smalls. Say hi, Smalls.
Hi.
And so, like I said, my mom picked up this one. She got a real good price on it. It's a, it's a 2006 model. It's just got a little over 100,000 miles on it. And she paid $700 for it. We've got a few things we need to do to it. I've already looked the vehicle over. So to make it a really nice car for her, we've got several things we need to do. It's going to need a water pump, timing belt, oil change, transmission fluid change, antifreeze change. We're going to do belts and hoses and some tune-up stuff to it, spark plug wires, and a few other things it needs along the way. So this video is going to be based on tuning this car up and getting it running really well for her and doing some maintenance work. So thanks for watching and we hope you enjoy. All right, so in this video, I'm not going to do any one particular thing in any certain order. A lot of this has to come off anyways in order to do valve cover gaskets, to do the upper radiator hose. And then, like I said, we're going to be doing the timing belt, which is here on the front of the engine. But I'm just going to, like I said, get started on things, start removing parts that I know need to come off. And that's all right. If I'm doing anything wrong, I've got my dad here with me today. He used to be a government employee, and of course, they're real good at telling you what you're doing wrong. So I'm sure that as I work on this, he'll let me know if I'm doing it wrong. So let's get started. so as part of removing the timing belt on this vehicle, the AC system needs to be evacuated. And of course, this should be left up to a professional. I am trained. I have an ASE certification in retrieval of refrigerants. So this is something that you definitely don't want to attempt on your own. Even though you can buy the equipment online, it's not something you want to attempt on your own unless you are certified for this procedure. So that's what we're going to do next, is we're going to go ahead and evacuate the system out and prep it for being able to get to that timing belt. All right, so after the evacuation of the AC system, I wasn't able to do any more work that evening. It had kind of gotten late. I know that the way these videos look, you know, after I edit them, they look like things go pretty quickly, but most oftentimes they don't. With the evacuation of the AC system, that took about 45 minutes to an hour total to fully suck down the system and be able to store the Freon for future use. So, like I said, these processes, they take a little while longer than the video editing shows. So this is a different day. It's actually Friday the 13th. Oh boy. Woo. Friday the 13th. It's after work. I'm out here actually working by myself tonight. My dad's gone, and I'm not sure if Smalls or if Naomi will join us tonight. But I'm out here working on a few things. So where we left off in the last part of the video was that evacuation. So we're going to go ahead and move forward now with doing more. We got quite a bit done. Got the whole top part of the engine here removed, intake and everything here for the spark plugs, for the tune-up part. The spark plugs are still in there, but we got the coil pack out of the way, the spark plug wires. We got the power steering reservoir loose. I'm not going to disconnect it completely because there's no reason to. It can be easily moved out of the way to do the valve cover and to also be able to get room here for where the timing belt is at. So we're just going to leave that kind of where it's at. I don't want to have to drain all that out and refill that system there. So we're going to move on from here. We got some parts to take free with the AC being evacuated. I can go ahead and remove these lines, get those out of the way. I can also disconnect them from the condenser out front here, and then I can pull the radiator out of the way, do the lower radiator hose, and then from there, it's a little hard to see, but there's actually a bracket down in here. This would be like the top engine mount, and then there's one down below underneath the car. So we're gonna have to take the tire off on this side to get to that mount, which is okay because actually this car gets brakes all the way around, and it's getting a different set of wheels and tires to go on it. These wheels and tires, they're aftermarket. It's a little hard to see, but there's actually a spacer back in here that's gonna have to be removed for me to put the original wheels back on it. Spacers, really, they're you know, they give the car a different look. They make the tires come out a little wider, but the spacers do wear out the wheel bearings faster, which is actually also part of the problem with this. The wheel bearings are worn out on the front, so those are going to get replaced as well as part of the work that we're doing. So again, you know, quite a few little things to do, but again, it was a nice running car. Again, my mom got a real good deal on it, so you know, with the deal that she got, we're able to put the little money into it and make it a nice running vehicle. There will eventually be a second part to this video. This is not the only thing I'm doing to this car to make it a nice running car. We'll do a little bit of a close-up here. You can see that there's a lot of chips in the paint. So with the chips, and then there's some other areas I'll show later, but the car does have some minor dents on it. The car does have some minor dents on it here and there, so sometime over the winter time the car will come back here to the shop, and we'll remove all the dents, and we'll sand it down, and we'll actually put another paint job on it. The bumpers that are black, they're going to go back to the red that's on the car. That way it all matches and looks more factory, with the wheels changed out, the paint back to the bumpers being the color of the car. So again, You know, a lot of people might think this is a lot of work, but honestly, for the money that Mom paid for the car, we have maybe $600-700 worth of parts in the car to get it back up to where all the maintenance is done, and get up to where, you know, we can put it on the road and faithfully trust that it's going to run really good and last a good long time. So really not a lot of money spent for what it is. So thanks again for tuning in, for watching this video, and let's go ahead and get started with more work here. Alright, so with those AC lines off, I'm going to go ahead and stuff a little bit of paper towel down in here to help keep debris from falling down in those holes and getting anything in our compressor pump. And I'm going to do the same thing back here on these open lines. Just going to stuff a little something in there to keep anything from getting in there. We don't want the system to get contaminated. And now with the AC lines out of the way, that gives us good access for these plastic covers and this mount here to get it out of the way so we can start on that timing belt. Looks like Smalls and Mommy, Naomi, have decided to join us tonight after all. It looks like they're going to be cleaning up the wheels that we're going to be putting on the vehicle. Well, that was interesting. So yep, so that's what they're going to be doing. You might hear them talking from time to time, or us talking from time to time while we continue this work, because that's what it looks like they're going to be doing for this, is they're going to be cleaning up the wheels. Alright, so after digging around down in there a little bit, we've got the timing belt exposed, we got the top cover off, and now all we have to do is put a jack underneath the engine to support the engine, and I can remove the lower mount, and then after I get that lower mount out of the way, I'll be able to jack the engine up a little higher, get this belt off, and get a new one put on along with that water pump. Alright, well, as part of the work that we're doing, we're also going to be doing front brakes on this vehicle, which we're not going to do those right now, but I am going to go ahead and take the wheels and tires off because the timing belt, in order to get to it, on the passenger side, we have to get the plastic cover off that covers the engine, the timing belt area there. We got to get that cover off. So since we're doing brakes on the front of this car, actually we're doing brakes on the back as well, we're just going to go ahead and remove these tires. Alright, we have the caliper free, and once you get the caliper off, you don't want to let the caliper just hang by the hose. It can damage the hose, and then cause issues later on with your brakes. So the best thing to do is to tie the caliper up out of the way so as not to get damaged. All right, now that we have this side completely off, we're going to go over to the passenger side and we're going to rinse and repeat. Hang on a minute, let me get a quick interview. So you're saying the wheels and tires that you're over there cleaning, it's just okay?
Yes, when you're working with a small child, it's just okay.
It's just okay. All right, so there you have it. Working with smalls, the wheels are not perfect. Might not even be good. They're just okay. But that's all right, because we want to make sure that everybody has something to do in their shop and that they all feel welcome here. All right, so we got the other side off. Wheel, tire, caliper, brakes, rotor. And we're in here, and I've also got a new drive axle for this. This might be a little hard to see here, but if you take a look down here, you can see that the grease is leaking out of the CV axle. So I do have a new one of those as well. I do also have the cover off. I did not film removing the plastic cover from this side of the vehicle because there was just a couple of plastic pins up in here, and it was just too hard to get the camera up in at that angle, being this close to the ground and not on a lift. So I went ahead and removed that, but now we can go ahead and get a few other things out of the way. We've got this bracket here that needs to come out of the way. We've got this lower mount that needs to come off. And of course, once I remove that, I'll need to put a jack underneath the engine to support the engine before I fully remove that, because that'll make the engine loose. There is one more bracket besides the lower one that needs to be removed before the engine will fully come up and down. But then we got to get the belts out of the way, the one for the power steering and AC, and then the one back here for the alternator. And then I can get this pulley off the front. And then, of course, behind all of that is the lower plastic cover, and then the bottom part of the timing belt stuff, tensioner and water pump in there. So let's continue on. All right, so we've got the cover off, and I got the lower cover off, and I got the crank pulley off. Of course, as you saw with the removal of the crank pulley, we're back here, and I've already taken and I've put the crank bolt back in, and I've turned the engine over until I've lined up the timing marks. So there's a timing mark here, and it lines up with a timing mark back here on the engine cover. And then if you go to the top of the vehicle, and we'll take a look down, here where the two gears are at. Hang on a minute, let me grab my flashlight. All right, so here where the two gears are at, it's kind of hard to see, but right in here, there's two more timing marks that have to point towards each other. And those are lined up as well. So at this point, I can go ahead now and undo the tensioner for the belt. And I can go ahead and remove the belt and then remove another plastic cover that's behind the belt to get to the water pump. All right, so I'm not going to be able to film this part too well because I just don't have enough space to get up in here with the camera and my hands. But the water pump is right here. There's a few bolts around it that we just need to take off and get this out of the way and get it replaced. So again, there's just not enough room to videotape this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this replaced, and then we'll put you back on. All right, well, there's the new water pump in place. It's good to go. So the next thing to do is go ahead and start putting things back together, like that plastic cover, get the cam gears put back on it, and then once the cam gears are on it, I can go ahead and set the idler pulley in place, the tensioner in place, so we can go ahead and put the timing belt back on it. So again, all of that's kind of tight quarters, hard to see everything. So we're gonna go ahead and get it all to the point to where the timing belt's back on it, and then we'll bring the camera back. All right, so the timing belt is back in. We've got everything tightened up that way, tensioner, even the timing marks, the engine's been rotated over and the timing marks have been verified that they line up. You can see them here on the top. But again, like I said, we didn't record that because it was just too tight of an area to get in and do the recording. But we've got the plastic timing belt cover on down here along with the lower dampener pulley. And that's good to go. And we've also got the middle engine mount back in place already. So from this point on, it's just putting it all back together the way we took it apart. So let's continue on with the work. there for now. All right, well, we got all that work done and the car's running really good. We got the temperature all brought up and it leveled out and everything's fine. We checked the level of the antifreeze and that's all good. So the next step here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull a vacuum on the AC system, make sure that it's sealed up real good and that it's not going to have any leaks. And then once we pull the vacuum on it and we check it, we'll be able to hook up the cylinder to it and put Freon back in it for the AC to work. All right, so we pulled a vacuum on the system and we've let it hold here for a little while to check it for leaks, and the vacuum is holding. So at this time, this system holds 1.1 pounds of Freon. So we've got the Freon sat here on a scale. Our scale is zeroed out. So we're going to go ahead and fill this up to 1.12 pounds. Naomi, can you start the car and turn the AC to high, please? All right, so we have the AC system charged. It's running really good and it's cold, but we're about ready to do a check. If you look at the thermometer gauge here I've got, it's reading about 80 degrees ambient temperature, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this inside the vent and we'll check it in a couple of minutes. All right, so we got the steering knuckle and everything out of the way, and of course the wheel bearing is inside the steering knuckle. So I'll be moving the camera over here in a little bit to the press to show you how to press that in and out. But this drive axle, CV axle, needs to come out as well. I had mentioned before that it was bad. You can see here where it's split open and it's been leaking grease. But it's a little difficult to get the camera up underneath the car where that is. With most vehicles, a lot of times you just get a pry bar such as this behind where it goes inside the transmission, and you just pop it and it'll pry right out. All right, well there it is. Passenger side is all done. Got the new CV axle in, and if you look back in here, we even got this ground wire repaired. That was bad. So we got that all taken care of. So now we're just going to put the wheel and tire back on, and this side will be done. is all done, put back together. We've got the OEM wheels and tires put back on it. I did rear brakes to it, which I didn't record that part. It was just kind of running out of time to be able to record anymore, but we got all that done. And as I mentioned earlier, there is going to be a second part, a second video to this. There are some dents and things that we need to remove out of it before it gets a paint job. But all in all, it looks good. Took me a few days to do the work on this, a few hours here, a few hours there. In a couple of days, I put a full 8 hours into it. But I think I did something wrong, or I did something right. I'm not sure. My tray full of nuts and bolts is completely empty. And I always was told that, you know, you had to have some left over in order for the job to be done right. So, Dad, what do you think?
Oh, I just got tired of watching you do everything wrong. I figured you'd get something right. The only thing I can say, I'm sure glad it's your mom's car.